How to use adjustment layers in Affinity Photo. Adjustment layers are great for recolouring images as well as shapes, etc. And they can be applied to a layer or the whole entire image. And you can simply do it via Layer menu and New Adjustment Layer, and you can run through all these different adjustments, and you can apply multiple adjustments to layers and multiple layers. So you can select curves, colour balance, and I'm going to go through a few of them in this tutorial, such as threshold. So now the threshold turns it into a black and white image, and you can have more or less of the image, the underlying image. So you can make it really black, or you can make it very, very white, turn it near enough into a line illustration. And that's applied to all of the underlying layers. You can close the panel at any point if you wish. You can bring the panel back by double-clicking the entry in the Layers panel threshold adjustment. So what you can do, you can move it. So if you just want it applied just to the top layer, just drag it down, and now that layer is the only one modified by that threshold adjustment. The other layer is untouched. So you can drag it down again, and now this time it's at the bottom layer. And again, so it's connected to that bottom layer only. The other layer is totally untouched, the smaller layer. So what you can do, you can go to the Layer menu again and add another adjustment. You go to Layer and New Adjustment Layer, and you can maybe exposure this time. So you can make it brighter or darker, expose it more. And you can change that setting, and you can see what happens now. It's at the top of the entire Layers panel, where it's applied to all of the underlying layers. I don't want that. I want it just to apply to that smaller layer. So just drag it down again to that layer. Once it's in that layer, that's it. It's actually applied just to that layer. The other layer, the one that's on the bottom, is totally untouched by the exposure. And so they can be edited independently. So again, at any point, just go to the exposure adjustment, double click on that to bring up the panel again. And then you can modify the setting. So just double click it and panel will appear. And that will happen with all of the other adjustments. What you can do then, you can change the opacity, how the opacity applied, so you make it 50% so you can see more of the underlying image or not. You can also change the blend mode, so you can make it use like darken or difference, and that's great for different color effects. There's other tutorials about blend modes. I'm not going to go through the blend modes. Again, double click the threshold one and you can modify the threshold. What you can also do, you can click merge. That's at the top there, threshold. And what happens, you've got the background and the adjustment layer become one single pixel layer. You might want that, you might not. The only thing is, once you've done that, you can't then modify the adjustment. You've just got a solid pixel layer. So you can double click again and then you can continue to modify the adjustment. You can also delete it. You can also delete it via the panel as well, right down the bottom right. So you can just click that little trash can, the bin. So you can change the blending modes. You can go through all the different blending modes. So you find one you like vivid light. It's quite a nice one. Creates a lovely effect. What you can do, you can add a preset. So the preset adds and stores the value, the threshold value, the opacity value, as well as the blend mode. And you can just save it, say to threshold 1. What happens is, stores it away in the panel called adjustment, which you can see on the right. So you can then go to the category of threshold in that and then reuse it at any point later. You can also reset the panel. So you can delete it, you can reset as well. So if you change the setting, you're not happy with the setting, you can reset it. There's also a little gear at the bottom there on the bottom right, and that will just change how much the effect applies to the layer. I'm not going to go through that, But you can see if you just change the settings, just drag that down, you get more or less of the underlying image. Likewise with the coverage map as well. Must admit, I very rarely use this section, but you can do it for like the master channel. That's the RGB, and then modify that so you can see again. Drag that down. You can see the underlying image without the effect being applied, or the adjustment being applied. What you can do, you can always reset it at any point. Reset it. Sadly, what happens is that if you now I've got the coverage map as well, you can go into the coverage map and do fairly similar. If you forget to reset all of the settings and then change something later, you'll find that suddenly that you think, well, that's not right. It doesn't seem to be working. And it's quite possible that little gear setting, you haven't reset something. So you haven't reset it back to the complete default. Reset doesn't set the gearbox section. Just you have to go into the gearbox and do the reset there. So I'll just click the gearbox again. Everything seems to be all okay, but it's the red channel. So I've got something there. Didn't reset that. I forgot that. Now it's gone back to the standard threshold. That's what I expect. It's a pity really there's no complete reset feature. That's what I think the reset should do, but it doesn't. It just resets the screen you're currently on. You can close it again and you've got that design there. Now at any point you can deselect it. So you can just go there to that little tick there and you can deselect the one there as well. I'm just going to delete it. I don't want that layer. So now I've just got one layer and I've got one adjustment. It's the threshold at this point. But I can add additional adjustment layers. I can go to the layer menu and add multiple adjustment layers. So now I'll go change that to maybe darker. Layer menu and new adjustment layer. And I'm going to go for another one. Maybe HSL or recolor. Go for recolor. Now you can change the hue there, and at this point it doesn't seem to do anything. Change saturation, doesn't seem to do anything. Only comes into effect when you change the lightness. And so you can change that. Now you see that I've got the hue over the blue. Now I've changed the lightness so it becomes a lovely blue colour there. And again, now I've got two adjustment layers. And I can just drag that down again and put it into the other one there. So both now are associated with that background. And they can be both modified independently by double-clicking them. And you can always remove them at any point just by clicking that little, just to bring back the original there. There's a lot more you can do. I'm going to show you the next couple of things like selections and masks. And also, of course, the adjustment panel itself. So layer menu and new adjustment layer. There's probably some ways easier to use the adjustment layer to apply things. But I'm showing you the menu mainly. So you go to adjustment and you can do much the same. Again, this is view menu and studio and adjustment. Just tucked away there. So when you click on one of those you've got a little sort of display there. I'm just putting it back completely to a complete fresh document. What you can do, just click on one of those little previews, little thumbnails. And this time I'm going to go with gradient map. So just click on it. And what happens? Brings up the panel straight away, the gradient map panel. It's a slightly odd feature that the panel appears, but that's how it works. So as soon as it doesn't, you can always close it at any point as well. But as soon as you click one of those thumbnails, you can run through all the adjustments you've got. You might have 3 or 4 there, up to you, depending how many you've created before. You can, of course, modify the preset. So you've got to click the thumbnail, get the current one, and then just go to the blend mode or change maybe the gradient. And you can, again, add additional adjustments, presets to that via the Add Preset at the top left. And that's where they go, in that panel. If you select that gradient map adjustment and then go and click on there, then you will just get the panel popping up and no additional one. But if you deselect everything, everything's deselected, and then you go to the panel and click it again, what will happen? It will generate another adjustment layer on top. So you get 2 adjustment layers. So just select the adjustment layer that you want to apply the thumbnail to, or if you want additional ones, just deselect everything and then click the thumbnail. And then you'll get that additional entry. And again, you can always move it into the background layer so it's just nicely grouped. So I'm just going to go back to a fresh document again, all the way back to the start. So that's going to be removed, the gradient map. But there's a whole load of adjustment presets, piles of them. But obviously you can add more and more. You can add 5 or 10. What you can do also, you can use a selection. I'm using a rectangular, circular selection there. But you can use a freeform, rectangular, etc. And once you've done that, you can then go to alignment or use the adjustment panel and click on one of those thumbnails. Go to layer and new adjustment layer and maybe black and white. Select that. And again, like I say, you can just go to adjustment and use exactly the same thing. And in this case, it's only applied to that selection. Everything else that's outside the selection is untouched. In this case, I can modify like the yellow. So I'm just modifying the yellow. So as soon as you do that, all the yellows in the image are modified, obviously within that selection range. And again, you can also go, once you find it, up and down a few times to find the black and white section. Oh, there it is. Black and white. There's the presets. You can just use the presets as well. So you just click on those, and again, they will modify. And again, all the settings are changing, like yellow, red, etc. So you can modify the colours using that black and white. So you can create not just black and white. You can create really nice, colourful designs, but that have been modified by the black and white adjustment. What you can do, just go to that adjustment and then drag it down if you wish. Yep, put it down there. So that's applied just to that layer. What you can also do, of course, you can go to select and deselect, and then you can apply brush strokes to it. You find the brush tool, one of those, here it is, brush tool. Select the brush tool. Now I've got white there. And you notice that white there is in the centre of that image, so you just apply it, just go, and as soon as you apply white, you'll see more of that black and white adjustment. You've got white in the toolbar there. You can just go to that little adjustment thumbnail. You can just see the white there appearing in the adjustment as well as on the screen. So you can see more of the adjustment. Now, if you want more of the original image to appear, go to the black. And you can blend between the two. So you don't have to use black and white. You can use grey as well. Anything in between to get slightly less or more. So you can create more subtle, very lovely, different designs just by going with a grey instead of black and white. But I'm just doing black and white here. But you can see it all happening in that little adjustment thumbnail. Also, you can apply filters. So you can go to like distort, deform, etc., or distort, filters menu, distort, and mirror. So number of mirrors. Now, this is being applied not to the background layer, the pixels, but to the adjustment layer. So the adjustment layer can be modified by this, by an effect, by a filter. You can modify the origin points. You can see it just changing there as And that's all the brush strokes that you've been creating, as well as the original circle. Click OK. You can see the design there. And of course you can continue to add or remove using the brush strokes again. And of course you can go to the background one and apply effects as well to that filter menu. Now just put it back, right back to, again, completely fresh document. And this time I'm going to go for another adjustment. And again, I could use the adjustment panel, just to add adjustments that way. Just click on those. So I don't have to go to the layer menu. So I can go to the threshold, or I can select one of those. And then as soon as you do that, the threshold panel will pop up. And then you can modify it. So you can change the settings again, the threshold. But what you can then do, you can go to layer menu and new mask layer. So instead of having the entire, so what happens, it's added to that threshold adjustment, the selected threshold adjustment. So what you can then do exactly the same as with selections. You can just go to that mask and you go like black there. So you can see more of the underlying image. Or you can go over to the tool panel again and maybe change it to grey, or, okay, in this case, white. And then as soon as you do that, you'll get more of the threshold appearing again. So you can see the effect. And also what you can do, you can still do exactly the same as you did before. The filters menu, you can go to, say, distort and deform, or twirl. So the mask can be modified as well as the, like with the selection. And you can add some pins there. And you can see what happens. You actually end up with some really quite unusual colour effects as the mask is being changed. So you can create all kinds of super colourful effects by using masks with these adjustments as well. So adjustments are really, really useful way of changing the colour in Affinity Photo. Of course, there are other ways of changing the colour as well, via the personas. But this is a nice way of changing in the standard default Affinity Photo. Again, at any point you can move those adjustments around or delete them or add additional adjustments. So layer menu and new adjustment layer, or via the adjustment. But you can also, and I've been applying it just to obviously an image, but you can apply it also to a shape. So you've got, like, say, a triangle. Just quickly go and create a triangle. Obviously, if you apply adjustment to that, it's not going to be very, very effective. It's just a lovely black image. But I'm going to add a gradient to it. So I'm going to go for a gradient. I'm going to go for maybe a type of linear. And you can also add additional stops. So go for elliptical, and you can see your gradient appear there. Again, it's not particularly effective at the moment, so I'm just going to add an additional stop there and change the colour. So I'm going to go for something like red. So you get a lovely colourful design now within that shape. And you can apply adjustments to that. So again, you can use the adjustments panel, or you can go to the layer menu and new adjustment layer and use one of the other ones. Adjustment layers, probably in the case of LUT, are much easier to modify via the adjustments panel, because I can never find the LUT files. Click load LUT, you have to search for a while. So I would suggest go over to the adjustment panel and then look for the LUT there. And you can just click it. So you just click any of those presets. Now what you'll notice is applying it to the shape as well as the underlying image. Well, I don't want that. I want it to be applied just to the shape. So what you can do, again, go over to the layers panel. You've got the layer there and you've got the shape there. Just select the adjustment and then just drag it down. Now it's just applied to the shape. Background layer is totally untouched. And of course you can then go to the LUT and keep modifying it if you, obviously there's only a small selection, but you might have like other LUT files that you use, so you can add those into presets as well. But you can continue to add additional adjustment layers. I'm just going to remove that. So the shape's gone now, and I've just got that background design there. So again, layer menu, new adjustment layer, and just going to go with recolor. Now with recolor, you can quickly recolor your image. So in this case, you can change the hue. You can see it modifying the hue there. That's it. Again, you've got that adjustment, which you can then just move into the background layer. And of course, if you've got multiple layers, you can recolor each of those individually. And you can double click again to bring up the recolor panel. So you can change it into a pink design instead of blue, green, whatever. Hope you found this tutorial of interest. Please subscribe to the Graphicxtras channel, always adding new tutorials about Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, Photoshop, etc. Also, please add some comments, as well as a dislike or like. Thank you much.